Hello, my name is David Penner, and this is my Module 16 case study for EDL 854 titled Missing Booster Club Funds. In this case, there's a scenario that is described in which there are missing funds from ticket sales at a basketball game that is held at George Washington Middle School. Mr. Stevens is the head principal at the middle school and was in charge of the event. Miss Bowman is a PTA member and a mother of a 7th grade cheerleader. Miss Bowman comes to Mr. Stevens, prior to the event and asks for PTA funds in order to support her daughter's cheerleading trip, which her daughter earned all-state honors for. Mr. Stevens denies the request. However, Miss Bowman continues to work at the athletic event, and the night of the basketball game, she is working the ticket sales. After working the game, Mr. Stevens receives the bank bag in which he notices missing funds from the recorded ticket sales from the event. Category 1 is titled Problem Identification and Analysis. What do we know from this scenario? We know that Miss Bowman is a very active parent and is part of the PTO, or the parent-teacher organization. She has asked for PTA funds in order to support her daughter's all-state honors trip. We also know that from the event that there are pre-numbered ticket sales being used in order to keep track of the actual number of ticket sales at the basketball event. We also know that Mr. Dumas, who is another parent at the event, paid for his admission with a $50 bill and received money in exchange from that from the ticket booth. Miss Bowman records that there were 10 tickets that were torn and were disposed of, not used, and that the cash, even at the end of the sale, still does not match up with the number of tickets that were recorded being sold. What do we need to know from this scenario? We need to know who the other parents are that were working the game that night. Was Miss Bowman working with another parent, and if so, who? Does the school have any security cameras? If they do, was any of the maybe mishandling of the money recorded? What are the admission ticket procedures for the event? How do they go about recording the money and then also, or exchanging the money, and then also recording the number of tickets sold? What are the Booster Club policies for helping at events? Do parents sign up for this on their own, or are they asked to volunteer? Are they forced to volunteer? And policies like that. Was there an exchange of bills that then accounts for the missing of the $50 bill? Did somebody else get paid or pay with a bigger currency and then get reimbursed the $50 bill? Other bills that were left in the change bag, was there anything else that was remaining in the change bag that may have helped us identify where this $50 bill may have gone? And then anyone else have access to the money bag prior to the bank deposit by Mr. Stevens? So the problem in this scenario is that we still have missing funds that are unaccounted for from the game. The ticket sales still do not match up with the money that was collected for that night, and we don't know where those funds are going to be at. Category 2 asks for us to devise a plan of action. I came up with a 5-step plan of action. Step 1 would be to continue with the deposit of the money. Mr. Stevens made it all the way to the bank with the security guard. Might as well continue with the depositing of whatever money was raised from that basketball game, and then record what the missing funds would be from that event. Step 2 would then be to contact Miss Bowman either later that night or the next day, depending on what the hour of the day would be, and to let her know that even with the 10 tickets that were torn up, this money still does not add up. I think it's important to give her a chance to explain what happened with that scenario, and it's important to definitely not accuse her. She is a volunteer. It's important to value their help. Step 3, I think it's important if you don't have an explanation of where the money may have gone, From step two, I think it's important to contact the other workers of that night, whether that's the concession workers or also the other person that worked the ticket sales. Ask them if they know anything about the missing money or where that money may have turned up. Step four, I think it's important to contact the district office to let them know about the situation. Allow for them to know that you are handling the situation and also that you're aware of it, but also maybe ask for help from the district office as well in order to track down those missing funds. Step five would then be to work with the PTO in order to improve safeguards for future events. Suggest maybe that the ticket booth works with two people or two-person teams, have one designated ticket holder while the other one is the designated money holder, and vice versa. Category three, what is the resolution for this scenario? And in this, we're asked to think what is best for the students. I think it's what's best for the students is building a working relationship with the parent volunteers in the school. Having parent help is very important for schools. Most of your successful schools have heavy involvement from the parent in the communities. So I think it's important to continue to nourish that relationship. I also think it's important that you protect the funds for the students by making sure that those funds are used on the students and appropriately used on the students. I think it's also important to have a level of accountability, both for the parents that are helping as volunteers for situations like this, and then also for Mr. Stevens or the principal. He's responsible for the event and for safeguarding that money as well. So I think it's important that he is also held accountable as well. And then also for respect for the members that are involved in the situation. You don't want to tick off any parents by accusing them of stealing the money, and this includes Miss Bowman as well. So what is the resolution to the problem? There's still no proof that Miss Bowman is responsible for the missing funds. So I think it's important as the principal to conduct an investigation in order to find out where those missing funds may have occurred and not to accuse any parents that were volunteering that night until you have absolute proof that one of them may have taken the money. By following a plan of action, I think I will strive to come to a conclusion in order to help solve where the missing funds might be. I also think that that will lead to installing future safeguards that will eliminate this process from happening maybe again. And then ultimately, it's important to view this experience as a principal, as a learning experience, not only for myself as the principal, but also for the school policies that we have in place for handling the funds from these events. Category four was our debrief. What was I thinking, feeling, and valuing from this scenario? What I was thinking was that as the principal, I need to take ownership for the problem and be able to communicate with our district office that it is my responsibility as the principal. And I understand that in order to handle the financial aspects or the funds that were raised from this school event, I also think it's also my responsibility to conduct the investigation as well in order to find where those the missing money may have ended up. I also felt the need to implement stronger safeguards. Parents that count the money in the tickets, they should do this counting together before turning in the money to the principal or into the money bag. And then the principal, along with the security guard, before leaving the building, should recount the money and then go make the deposit together. I also valued the relationship with Miss Bowman and the other parent volunteers in this scenario. Especially at our school, it's hard to kind of get parents to be involved, not only be involved, but volunteer their time. And parental help is just invaluable, and you don't want to necessarily lose out on relationships and these parents that are willing to make your school be even more successful by making accusations. What unresolved issues are there still left from this case study? The first is that we still don't know where the missing $50 bill is at or how this may have been handled going throughout the night. Maybe it was mistakenly given to another person. Maybe it was just exchanged for a bigger or larger denomination. We don't know. What future safeguards may be instilled uh, in regards to this scenario? How can we better keep track of funds and make sure that we're not losing out on potential earnings from these events? I also think parental and volunteers, are the policies themselves going to change as a result from this scenario? And if so, how? Do we change the admission ticket procedures? How can they be improved in order to make sure that we're not mishandling funds? And then also, what influence will this situation have on future events? We don't want to lose out on potential money, but we also want to keep strong school parent relationships in order to help, once again, retain those invaluable parental volunteers. Category 5 asks us to reflect on Standard 8 in the 3 components that make up Standard 8. The first component is, how did you as a school leader promote the effective and efficient management of the school or district? By being a presence at the school event, I as the principal am showing that I care for the students and their success outside of the classroom, and also for our school and our students as a whole. In being there, I can help encourage the student and or the students participating in the event and the school itself, and then while also being there, I can help build community relations as well. I can also follow district policies for pre-numbered tickets. That shows that we're handling it in a responsible way, the ticket sales in a responsible way. And by utilizing safeguards and suggesting improvements, where we can have 2-person teams for not only the concessions but also for the tickets, where one person is in charge of handling the money and the other person is in charge of the tickets or the concessions. This will help allow for there to be less maybe exchange of the two, or chance for the two to overlap and rely or result in missing funds for the school. Component 2 asked us to, how did you as the school leader promote the social learning of every student? As the principal, it's important to support your PTA and booster clubs, your parent-teacher associations. They are invaluable, once again, to the school and its success. I think it's important to also build student and parental rapport. So with talking with parents at the event, with encouraging students as they participate in the event, it's important to let them know that you care about them as people as well. And then by attending the school events, you're showing your support for not only the students, but also your community as well. Protecting funds to want to make sure that those funds are being used appropriately in the school. And then recognizing students' achievements inside and outside of the classroom and how they reflect on our school. Component 3 asks, how do you, as a school leader, promote student academic learning? By not allowing for the limited resources that are being raised by events such as this basketball game to be spent on just one student, I'm making sure that those funds are going to be used on the student body as a whole and being used in the most appropriate way possible. By encouraging parental involvement at these events, we're getting parents involved in the school, and once again, more parental involvement shows that we're now going to have a better success rate for our students and our school. By creating a community bond, I'm relating to different parents throughout the night as I am present at these events. Mr. DeMoss, for example, would be one where I recognize that his business is doing well and that he got paid, and showing that I care for him and his success as well. And then finally, following the district procedures when handling events such as this, making sure that there are safeguards that are in place, making sure that the students are supervised in their event, making sure that I'm keeping track of parents in the stands and then also at the concession stands and the gate in order to make sure that they are following the procedures they need to as well. That's my case study. I hope you enjoyed listening. Thanks again.